Thanks. I want to thank Jeff from WHO Radio for having me on today. How many people heard the interview segment? Good number. Good number.
Well, then you've heard it all. Thank everybody for coming.
You got a good initial dose.
You mean you have more to say?
To the doctors, it's 2 and 3 hours. I mean, it's a lot. Okay, so by training, I'm an electrical engineer. I don't come from the medical field. The failure of the physicians can be thanked for bringing me into medicine because my wife became type 1 diabetic doing what the doctors told her and failed. She went to a thing out in California from Whitaker, big name diabetic doctor, comes back, gets her blood test sent, worse than when she started. I said, why the heck did you pay for this? She goes, well, they send us the results. I said, now I know why, because they get failure. This was the high complex carbohydrate nonsense. So just so you know, complex carbohydrates goes to the same amount of sugar 10 minutes later. So when they tell you how long it takes and blah, 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 they don't look at the curves and they're just making things up. So you always want to ask how much, not more or less about, I want a number. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. Give me the number. I'll tell you if it's high or not or what I think it is, but I don't need anybody telling me or trying to think for me in relative terms. Doesn't mean anything. So this got me in the field. So I did what everybody else would do. I went to the health store and get one book by Atkins, you know, that's the low carb guy, get another book by Ornish or somebody else that's just the opposite, a high carb buy, and you go, who do I believe? You read both of them, there's almost no science. My comment is none of them. I'm an electrical engineer by training. I live in physics, electrical engineering, mathematics, science. So is there any science that can tell us what the heck to eat and what's going on? Sure, there's two, biochemistry and physiology. I mean, there's other ones, but those are the main ones. So luckily I live in Houston, MD Anderson Cancer Center, one of the top, well, it's the biggest cancer center in the world. They let me use their library for years. And I spent tons and tons of time over there. And it was like, my goodness, we're being told to do this, and the science says the exact opposite. It's like eat fiber. Fiber in the textbook of medical physiology is cellulose. It's not food. You can't digest it. It irritates the colon. So in 1999 and 2000, it was published in New England Journal of Medicine, which is America's top publication, and Lancet, which is the world's best medical publication. Women eating the most fiber got the most colon cancer. What's it today? Eat fiber. So don't take any supplemental fiber. If you're getting some fiber in celery or something, that's okay. It's in the natural food. But don't go taking any of the brands of fiber. It irritates your colon. Insanity. Take calcium. If you read anything about heart disease, calcification of the plaque is the last stage of heart disease. So all the calcium the poor women are taking ends up precipitating out, and it just solidifies, calcifies the arterial wall. It's the worst thing in the world you can do. Nobody needs any supplemental calcium. This is all made up nonsense. And they always have a new epidemic. You got some now. I don't even need to tell you what they are, but this is brilliant marketing. They create made up epidemics. And the question you should ask is, why is this a problem now? That's where you start. Was it a problem 50 years ago? Everybody deficient in fish oil. Well, in 1950, 1960, did people have brain problems where they couldn't think? Did people have visual problems where they couldn't see? Because these are the two biggest depositories of DHA and EPA. The answer is no. You look, are there cultures that have no fish? Yeah, there's 6 or 7 of them. Dr. Rowan told me these. They live in the mountains. There's no fish. Here, what kind of fish did you used to have here? And then again in 1940, 1950, 1960, people ate very little fish, maybe on Fridays, Lent, but weren't eating fish. Certainly no fish oil supplements. We see any problems then? No. So why is there a problem now? Because we have a lot of rotten fish we need to get rid of, and how do you get rid of it? Juice it. Brilliant. That's exactly what it is, and if you think anything else, you're wrong. And it doesn't even matter if it's not a juiced fish. Well, they're all juiced. That's how you get the oil out of it. But it doesn't even matter if it's a good fish. It's the wrong substance. And we'll talk about that. It's 20 to 50 to 500, 20 to 500 times too much of a dosage daily. 20 to 500 times, not percent, times. They're insane. Okay, so after all this time, it was like, my goodness, somebody's got to start opening their mouth and doing something about this because the science is here. 180 degrees opposites over here, and this is what people are doing. So it's this bad. The, quote, solution to our health problems is actually the cause. Nothing could be more insidious, and nothing answers why, in spite of everybody wanting to do the right thing and spending a pile of time and a pile of money trying to do so, are we sicker than ever, bigger than ever, and diabetes is just everywhere. And now, heart attacks, Alzheimer's, cancer, every disease is getting younger and younger and younger. And it all has to be tied to food processing. There's only one thing. So way back when I started this, I said, what can be the common thing between the poor person that has no money and the multi-billionaire that has infinite money? Food. Okay, what can be in the food? So I started looking, and turns out it's in the lipids, the fats. So there's 3 categories of food. There's proteins, fats, carbohydrates. We'll start with protein. Meat, all the vegetable or all the animal stuff is protein. Shrimp, from the sea is protein. Anything that can be broken down and get amino acids is protein. Can you screw them up? Not really. You can heat them. They're denatured, which means the 3-dimensional shape goes into a 2-dimensional shape. But it doesn't matter much. You can still cook the protein. Any other way to screw it up? It's kind of hard. Pretty darn hard. So protein, no big issue. Low carbohydrate, can you screw that up? Well, you can't really screw it up. I don't care if you boil it, cook it. I mean, you're not really screwing it up, but it is horrible. Now, here's a couple things about carbohydrate you need to know. There's no dietary requirement of carbohydrates. And when I mean none, none. Textbook of Physiology will say this. That's the medical textbook every doctor in North America learns from. So they have seen this. There's no dietary need for a carb. What's our great medical community and nutritional community say forever? Make 60% of your diet carbohydrates. Well, let's see how many calories that is. 2,000 calorie a day diet, 60%, 1,200 calories. So write this down and remember it. Every 20 calories of carbohydrate is a teaspoon of sugar. Every 20 calories of carbohydrate is a teaspoon of sugar, every 5 grams. Most of the time they just do calories. So on a 2,000 calorie a day diet, 60%, 1,200 divided by 20 is 60. They're telling you to eat 60 teaspoons of sugar. And this is the equivalent. I kid you not. When I first looked at this, I couldn't believe it. It took 10 minutes to calculate it, but it can't be. 20 calories can't be a teaspoon of sugar. Then it's how much sugar is in the bloodstream. 1 teaspoon. You got 5 quarts of blood in you. There's 1 teaspoon in the system. And I just said we're eating 60. So the first question is, where the heck's this other 59 go? Don't know. Does it stay hanging around? What? No, it goes right into body fat. And that's called the insulin response. So insulin defined as a fat storage hormone. That's what insulin is. Gets the blood sugar out, makes you fat. Can a fat or a protein be turned into fat? No, there's no insulin response. Do I need an insulin response to turn a fat or a protein into fat on me? Yeah, and you don't get one. You never get one. So a protein can never go to fat, and a fat can't go to fat either. It's impossible. The only thing that goes to fat is carbohydrate. So if you're overweight, you're eating too many carbs, period. Now, you could be delusional about how much you're eating, but like I said, every 20 calories of carbohydrates, a teaspoon of sugar. So I used to wolf down a pizza at night. You eat a pizza, you're eating 60 to 100 teaspoons of sugar, whether you knew it or not. You eat 2 pieces of bread, that's 5 to 8. 1 can of soda, 8 teaspoons of sugar. So what did the nutritionists do? Oh, that's why you got to exercise your tail off. Problem is you can't exercise enough to negate the carbs. It takes much too much time. You don't start burning fat right off the block. You burn glycogen, which is stored carbohydrate in your liver. So it's very misleading. It doesn't work, and this is why the 10,000 steps a day program the government had, they stopped it. I don't know if anybody here remembers that. I follow this kind of stuff. They stopped it because it failed. And this is why it fails. My joke is in the park, you see the runners running, or half of them walk because they can't run. Running can make you fatter faster. Why? Because your appetite goes up so much, and then you feel deprived because I did all this work. I deserve that banana split. You eat that, and you burn up half of it from all your running. You can't burn up enough to overcome the carbohydrate fat storage. And it's really as simple as that. The problem is we crave carbohydrates. We crave them. So if you care about diet, get my book, The 24-Hour Diet. Also, PEO Solution, if you care about health, talks about all this. There's the protein powder fruit smoothie combo in there, and it gives you 1/4 to 1/2 of the blood glucose, which means the diabetic or fattening load in the bloodstream, than a piece of cake or a pizza or anything would do. And you can have a ton of fruit, and you are stuffed because you can drink 1/4 of this. I freeze the fruit, put a scoop of protein powder in it, fill it up with water. The fruit's frozen, so that's the ice cubes. I don't have to add any more. Grind it up if you want it thicker, like a thick milkshake. Less water, you want it thinner, more water. It's that simple. You put down 1/4, your stomach is stuffed, and your sweet tooth is fulfilled in the brain with the fruit. Because it is sugar, but it doesn't go into the bloodstream the way the other stuff does. There's a difference, and I talk about it in the book. I sent off to a lab and had this analyzed. There's differences. So fruit is nature's natural candy. Now, you can't have bananas, pineapple, cherries. There's a couple fruits you can't have because they're just in a different category, like a banana is mush. You know, it's not really in the thing, and pineapple's a problem too. But outside of that, peaches are excellent, strawberries, blueberries, cantaloupe. You can have a lot of fruit, and you put in 8 ounces, which is 1/2 pound. And I'm telling you, have one of these smoothies now, till 11 o'clock, you can't even think of eating something. I don't care, the banana split's there, the pizza's there, the cake is there, the donut's there. It's just, I'm stuffed and I'm satisfied. And the diabetic doctors don't know this trick. It's the biggest discovery in what to feed a diabetic I've ever seen. Nobody knows it. This will fix it like you wouldn't believe. And you can have it anytime you want, but definitely at night, because at night is when everybody snacks. Because I had a tough day, I'm tired, I want to reward myself, I sit my tail, watch TV, then I eat the junk, and then I go to bed. And about the worst thing you'd ever do, because I used to do this, is woofing down the pizza and then going to bed. You eat the pizza, you feel like you have 2 bricks in your stomach, and then you have to drink 1/4 water, so you're up at 3. Because every ounce of carbohydrate takes 3 ounces of water. It's a sponge. So you eat the carbohydrate, you're also going to be walking around with 3 times more water, so you're perpetually bloated. There's no carbohydrate in a cell membrane. Half the cell membrane, you have 100 trillion. 100 trillion cell membranes is protein, the other half is fat. There's no structural carbohydrate at all. Body doesn't need carbohydrates, they're non-essential. There's no RDA for carbs. They don't tell you this. Again, we're told make them 60% of our diet. There's no RDA because none are needed. Now, can you have some? Of course. But we're overdosing on them. Why? They're cheap. Cereal is cheap as heck. The box costs more than the garbage inside the box. It's true. They're very, very cheap. And I don't care if it's organic brown rice. It's all sugar in disguise. Carbohydrate equals sugar, period. It's all in the book. Got to understand this. Get the 24-hour diet. You will know more than any nutritionist, any MD talking about this stuff because they've come across it, they've forgotten it, or never really learned it, or connected no dots. It's the trouble in medicine today. There's a zillion dots. There's a zillion brilliant people, but they do a dot, and it doesn't go to this dot, to that dot, to this dot, and go, oh my goodness, you explained 4 things deep. They explain nothing. Here's 2 things. Everybody got one of these? 2017, 2 seminal articles. I mean, I'll hit them now. These are about fats. The first one, and it's in Molecular Cell. So MDs don't read this. They read New England Journal of Medicine, Journal of the American Medical Association. They don't read physiology books like this. First article, activation of the unfolded protein response by lipid bilayer stress. Underlined, active role of lipid membrane. New discovery, response to aberrant lipid composition, which is adulterated. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me just finish up on the carbohydrate thing because we're there. Worst thing for a diabetic is carbohydrates because they raise the blood sugar level. 1 teaspoon in the bloodstream. Average American's eating 60, probably 100 today, it's even worse. The only way to get rid of it is exercise, burn it up. So this is where the exercise people and the doctors and the nutritionists, you got to exercise, exercise, exercise. What if I don't eat the carbs? Well, you don't have to. And I can't burn up that level of carbohydrate I eat. I just can't. It's a losing battle. You don't. You burn up next to nothing of body fat created by it. So the key is you don't eat it. So tricks that I do is 1 piece of bread, half a bagel if I even have it, a lot of cream cheese. Carbohydrate doesn't fill you up. Fats fill you up. Proteins don't do much either. Proof of it is I can take an egg. I eat the white. I can eat 10 of them. I'm not fulfilled at all. That's all protein. Put a couple yolks in there. I am. The fats do something. Eat a plain piece of bread. It's not going to do it. I have to have butter on it. I need something on it. Peanut butter, I don't care what the heck it is. But just the bread by itself, spaghetti with no sauce or meatballs on it, you won't even consider it. Pizza crust with nothing on it, you could do it with a ton of butter, but not with no butter. You go, you nuts? So carbohydrates have no taste by themselves. An unprocessed one, you know, like a potato or something, yeah, you can cook it and it's okay. But not a man-made one, which is flour. Horrible. You don't need any of that. So there's really no use for a carbohydrate. It gives you fast energy. It's inefficient, but the problem is it raises your blood sugar level. So this whole rice and beans thing, I can live on a ton of that. You eat a lot of rice and beans, that's going to be an equivalent of 60 teaspoons of sugar right there. You eat a cup of rice and a cup of beans, you're gone. It's unbelievable how this adds up. I used to do the pizza, that was, you know, probably 50 teaspoons of sugar. When you look at it adds up more than you can ever imagine. Just take that teaspoon, dump it out, and cover something, and you'll see. You go, wow, here's 20 teaspoons of sugar, and it doesn't even get close to the whole surface area of the darn thing. So this is the exact reason why you have hyperactivity in kids. Give a kid 10 teaspoons of sugar that weighs 50 pounds, bouncing off the wall. 1 soda is 8 teaspoons of sugar. A Coke, root beer, I don't care what it is, grape soda. You can wolf down 20 or 30 teaspoons of sugar at a meal, and I get hyper. I won't do it anymore because I know it's coming. It's not worth it. It's not worth any kind of a kick to feel like that. Your heart beats like hell. You've all done it. We all do it, and you keep on doing it, and you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. I eat a banana split, I'm sick. I can do half a scoop of ice cream, that's about it. And that's all I want. Piece of cake, I won't even do it. I just don't want it. So any desserts I make are like chocolate pudding, very little sugar. I've got some tricks, you know, it's in the 24-hour diet how to do it. And once you put these oils in, you don't crave the carbs like you used to. So carbohydrates have no real purpose. Some quick energy, they don't taste good. The stuff you put on it tastes good. That's what you need to understand. It's not the damn carb, it's what's in it or with it. So fats are the key. This is the whole problem today of all our disease problems. The overweight problem, our incessant appetite that never gets fulfilled. And the reason is to get long shelf life, they have to process the oil so it doesn't work. It doesn't go bad. And what that means is the oxygen transfer stops. So here's how you can tell that. I can take margarine and put it out in the garage for a year. No bug will touch it. No bacteria will grow on it. No virus will be there. No microbe. Nothing. Because it's not food, it's plastic. If you show it to a plastic engineer, they'll go, this is a molecular plastic, essentially. And that's margarine. That's what we've been told by our physicians to eat. Because butter was bad for you. On that topic, there's no saturated fat in a clogged artery. None. Zero. So when I first saw this, it was like, okay, what's the accuracy of this high-resolution chromatography? They're saying it's 0, but maybe it can only measure to the closest 10 or 20%. The answer was no. It can go down to 1/10%. When I saw that, it was, my God, I'll bet you no doctor knows this. And they didn't. I'd go to one after another cardiologist. Hey, how much saturated fat's in a clogged artery? Oh, a lot. I said, really? Mm-hmm. Go to the next one, same garbage. None of them knew. Even a med student I saw on a plane, you know, I don't know why I knew he was a mess. I saw him reading a book or something. So how much is in there? I don't know, but I can tell you what they teach me in school. I said, what? Half? I said, they're teaching you this. He goes, yeah. I think this was a Baylor. I couldn't believe it. I said, my God. How can a cardiologist not know what the hell is clogging an artery and even attempt to keep you from getting a heart attack? They can't. It's horrible. No saturated fat in a clogged artery, and if you think about the chemistry of it, there's no way it can bond to anything. It's fully saturated, which means I can't attach to anything. So you can be almost a moron and get this. How the medical profession could not even know, it's appalling to me. So you go, what the hell is in it? Okay, that's the obvious question. If it's not saturated fat, it's the adulterated parent omega-6 up to 85% is that. Now, is it happening in the body or outside the body? That's the next question. Outside the body. You're getting it already adulterated, already ruined from food processors. All the frying at the fast food restaurants, they use what's called extenders. They keep the oil in those vats good for a month. Just imagine it's on 8 hours a day for a month, and that garbage has to maintain. They don't care if it kills you. I'm not dumping it out and putting new oil in. So the price we pay is it is killing you. Heart disease and cancer, absolutely because of those oils. They're doing it to us, and you're paying for it unknowingly. I was one of the first ones to say type 2 diabetes was a created disease unknowingly. Pre-1940, there was no type 2 diabetes, by the way. Zero. Didn't exist. Diabetic endocrinologist told me this, so I didn't make it up. But when he told me that, it was, my God, we created the damn disease. High carbohydrate diet, and then the screwed up fats in the cell membrane. Remember, you got 100 trillion of them. Half of that cell membrane is fat, half of it's protein. Out of the half fat, a quarter to a third are what's called parent omega-6 and parent omega-3. These are the two oils our body can't make. So just imagine I have 100 trillion cell membranes that don't work right. Would I expect there to be a problem? Your answer better be, yeah, I can't tell you specifically, but I expect there to be a ton of problems if it's not working. First one's insulin resistance. Try to go through the membrane, just told you it's plastic. I'm not going, so I need more and more to push the damn thing through. That's all insulin resistance is. I mean, you got to figure out what the hell is causing that. It's the only thing that makes any sense. It's deducible. Next thing is you don't get the oxygen transfer. That's causes cancer. There's one cause of cancer, period. There's a zillion secondary causes. It's called lack of cellular oxygen. Not in the bloodstream. Nobody has a problem there unless you have a disease. You could get a pulse oximeter, everybody's at least 95, which is no problem at all, to 99, 98. There's no lack of oxygen in the bloodstream. Question is, how the hell do I get that oxygen into the cell membrane, into the cell? Because it's got to pass about 7 different things to get through there. That's the problem. And Alwa Warburg had this. MD, PhD, Nobel Prize winner in 1931. Greatest biochemist, physiology of the 20th century, and nobody listened. He had all this about cancer as the prime cause. It was verified in 1953 and 1955 with 2 American physician scientists, but nobody knew the answer. So that was really me in the cell membrane really pounding this. Everybody gets up to the cell membrane and stops. They'll all say in cancer it's hypoxic, meaning there's very low or no oxygen in the tissue, and the worse the oxygen deprivation is, the greater the cancer is. So this is known, but they don't have a clue how to fix it. It's these oils. And you can prove it. You take the oils, you get oxygenated. They proved with oxygen, the heart tissue in the experiments in 53 didn't get cancer when they decreased the oxygen, even intermittently, so it's oxygen deprived. Within 2 years, every specimen had cancer. It was 100%. So brilliant work back then. And they vilified Warburg. Nobody listened to him because they're all jealous. Extremely jealous. So I wrote about this extensively in The Hidden Story of Cancer. Little of it's in PEO Solution. So these oils make the cell membrane, and the cell membrane, it's the brick and mortar of every cell. It's structurally in there. So this is why when you take it, it's by body weight. It actually makes the tissue, the organ, everything. Furthermore, it does what's called creates derivatives. So there's the parents, and 99% of the parents stay as parents. The entire medical profession made the mistake of thinking all the parents go to derivatives. What's a derivative? It's like fish oil, EPA, DHA. That's on the omega-3 side, the omega-6 side. There's GLA. These are known things, but there's extremely little of that, less than about 0.5%. So the medical profession thought it was at least 35, 40%. And this is why they said, well, everybody has impaired, it's called the delta-6 enzyme. You can't get this, you can't get that, so we need to bypass it and give you all this fish oil where it's ready-made. Awful mistake. It was published in 2000, a little later than 2000, maybe 2005, with positron emission testing. How much DHA, EPA the brain uses on a daily basis? 7.2 milligrams, 7.2. Now the eye has some, there's some in other cells. I'll say fine, double it. That's 15 milligrams. Write that number down, then for a little homework, go to your health store, go to the supermarket, go to the pharmacy, look at any of the fish oil stuff and see how many milligrams of EPA and DHA are in there. Your body needs 15. See how much is in there. It's 20 to 500 times too much by the dosage of what these idiots are telling you to do. If anyone would have cared to see how much of this the body is using before opening their mouth telling you how much to take, it's called a superphysiologic overdose. Horrible. Fish oil acts as a long-term steroid. Anybody knows you don't keep people on steroids long-term, you kill them. What do? They shut down all the EFA, which are what parent omega-6 and parent omega-3 is, metabolism. You're going to die. And that's typically what happens. You waste away, your bones break. I mean, it's horrible. You keep somebody on a steroid forever, you're going to kill them. You're killing them by the day, and they know it. So it's a very short-term thing. But if you're on fish oil, it's like a steroid every day. And it displaces the parent omega-6. So what else does the parent omega-6 do? My skin, 100% parent omega-6. There's no omega-3 in here. I take a pile of fish oil, guess what? It gets shoved into the skin. I put sun on that, putting fish oil in your body, it spontaneously goes bad. What is, I don't like talking a lot about this, but I have to because everybody thinks EFAs are fish oil. DHA and EPA, the active ingredients in fish oil, is antifreeze for a fish. Fish is swimming around in 30-degree water, right? Well, if I throw you in 25, 30-degree water, you're going to freeze, turn to a block of ice. Nature has two ways to go. Either give the long-chain fatty acids, because they don't freeze, they stay liquid in cold temperature, or alcohol. Vodka won't freeze in the freezer, it stays, right? Well, if I gave the fish alcohol, you get a drunk fish. That's not going to work. It's going to be blitzed and kill itself swimming around. So the only other way is long-chain fatty acids. Oh, interesting. Okay, we're living at 98.6. There's fish that live in warm water. There are warm water fish. Do they have less EPA and DHA? I would guess they'd have to have a hell of a lot less. Has anybody looked at this? And the answer is, yeah, they did. The answer is 14 times less. So you go, my God, going from 30 to 40, or 30 to 70, a 40-degree differential, there's 14 times less. At 70, we're at 100. That should be another 14 times less. We're taking the amount the damn fish at 30 degree has. Or we're getting so overdosed with these lunatics, they should all be in jail. It's horrible. The whole medical profession, monkey see, monkey do. It all started because they had all this waste product of fish. I can't sell it in a restaurant. Who am I going to give it to? Nutrition market. They're suckers for anything because they're sick and they're looking for a way out. We can sell them anything. We just market it and keep it going, going, going. Then we pay for studies and they're all for sale. There's no integrity at most universities anymore. There's no integrity from anybody. Just pay them, they'll give you whatever answer you want. The studies stink, but it doesn't matter. If you get enough of them, most people aren't schooled in statistics, so you spit out the right words. Doctors don't know. Then you give a good headline that doesn't even consist of what the study showed. They don't read the study, they just read the summary. Oh, it said this. They're done. And I can't even blame the doctors. They're too busy treating sick patients. They don't have time for this, and it shouldn't be their job anyway, but it's just a horrible situation we're in, where the medical field, the doctors are telling you stuff that they don't understand and shouldn't be, and they're killing you. The stuff I hear them say is just sinful. It's tragic. So fish oil is horrible. The more fish oil I take, the less parent omega-6 and parent omega-3 go in the tissue. How much omega-6 do I need? Because we're overdosed on that, right? Has anybody heard we're overdosed on omega-6? Everybody has. Anybody heard arachidonic acid, AA is bad, that's going to kill you? Everybody said that too. That's dead wrong. So this article just came out in 1997. I was thinking another article. 2017, the 11th of this month. They looked at 39,000 adults from 20 prospective studies. Prospective study means the person doesn't have the disease when I start. So they looked at these studies, and it's called a meta-analysis. Typically, you can't do that, but these guys are real good. Lancet is the world's premier medical journal, and this is Lancet Diabetes Endocrinology. So these guys are damn good. The higher the blood levels of parent omega-6, the less diabetes. The less. Again, why? I just told you the cell membrane. It's going to work when you have the omega-6. Now, it turns out when you do the algebra, you need 11 times more parent omega-6 than parent omega-3. So anybody saying we're getting overdose on omega-6, no, we're not. We're getting overdose on adulterated, non-functional omega-6. They missed that one damn word. And I get so tired of reading these things. Even when they give food to animals for cancer trials, it's all adulterated because I had it measured. The peroxide levels are supposed to be under 20. The mouse chow that you give the mouse in cancer trials this was 58. So it's ruined. They're giving it a food you would expect to be cancerous and going, hey, it got cancer. Well, you gave it a poison, jackass. You know, you're giving it a poison. If you didn't give them the poison, would it have protected it? Yeah. And this is always when you get, it's equivocal. Some trials show it's good, some show it's bad. Whenever you get that, you either got, something's wrong. Maybe they're giving a substance that's wrong. This is why medicine goes in a big circle. It goes nowhere. Every 20 years, you're right back at the same starting point. I don't know what to eat. Carbs, not carbs, fat, not fat. 20 years just goes in a circle. Now we're back to, carbs are bad and fat and protein. And give it another 20 years, we'll be right back to the reverse. It's pathetic. And nobody is ever accountable. Dr. Oz is saying fat's good, fat can't make you fat. He's right. What was he saying 10 years ago? I guarantee it wasn't that. I guarantee it wasn't that. It wasn't that with any of them, except a couple people like Atkins. But he gave no science. All he said was, well, we look at the patients. There was a pile of science. That's the only thing I had against the guy. Why don't you get your ass into a medical library like I did and quote the science? Because it was all there. He never did it. Didn't care he was making enough money. He didn't care. He didn't do the job. He should have. Because he had an obligation. He was the spokesperson for this. And it was never even him. 1950, there was calories don't count. There was martinis and whipped cream. There was banning, not somebody else, in the late 1800s. So Atkins just stole it. It was never his diet. So this is known, but it goes in a circle. I keep telling you, it's incredible to me. It works, and then they say it doesn't work when it does. It's absolutely incredible. So these oils, the skin, all omega-6, inside of your artery, it's called the intima, all parent omega-6. 85% of it's adulterated from what you eat. That's in the clog. What else? All your sexual hormones are made from cholesterol, and cholesterol is tied to these oils. Okay? Cholesterol transports these oils in the bloodstream. They just don't go swimming around by themselves because they're fat, and you need something that's water soluble. So you tie it to a LDL-C, it's low density lipoprotein, so it makes it water soluble. That's really all that is. But these are big molecules, and it's technical, but you don't need to know any of that. You just get to the basic part of it. So if I take a statin, what do? I lower the ruined parent omega-6 because it's tied to cholesterol. So the ruined stuff goes away, goes down, great. But you've also lowered the good stuff. So short term, a statin can work. If you're living on junk food, statin short term will be good. But what happens 2-3 years out, you're also negating, depleting the good parent omega-6. Now you have shortage of the good stuff. You're not getting any in because you're eating the bad stuff. It's going to be hellacious. So the results of statins are just horrible. Biggest thing with that is, do you need a statin? Well, is there a cholesterol sensor? There is one for blood sugar, 1 part in 1,000. Everybody, unless you're diabetics, blood sugar is regulated to 0.1%. That's 1 part in 1,000. Sodium, potassium, chloride, they're all regulated. Is there a regulator for cholesterol? Somebody asked me the last lecture. No. Genetic oversight. Really? No. It's called a dependent variable. When everything else is what it is, cholesterol is what it has to be. And that's that. It makes no difference. They're insane. I saw an expert say there's no lower limit for cholesterol. Cholesterol is one of the most ubiquitous substances in your body, meaning it's in every tissue. There's 10 major, maybe 11, functions of cholesterol in the textbook of medical physiology. It's loaded in the brain. It's loaded in the cell to keep structure. If you lower this too much, you'll be a worm and you'll die. And this jackass was saying, we know of no lower limit. And this is a big name guy. I think he's at the Cleveland Clinic. I'd call him a jackass to his face. They act like there is no physiology. This is what absolutely kills me. And in medicine, they never build on anybody before them. I watch a show, Extreme Engineering, it's on Discovery. It's great. How did they solve this problem? Well, we went to this brilliant engineer from 30 years ago, and he figured out this, and they show it. Boom. And then we had another problem. To do this one, we went to the next brilliant engineer from 100 years ago. You ever hear that in medicine? No, it's like this just came up. There was nobody's shoulders we did anything on. It's like they're not even aware of the last guy. They're not aware of what they even write, and the doctors don't even believe anything in their own medical journals. It's like every drug they give, 10 years later, take it to the bank, there's a major lawsuit that it doesn't work and it kills you. So my joke is, any drug can get passed as long as it doesn't kill the patient during the trial. That's the standard. I don't care what the hell the side effects are. If it doesn't kill you during the trial, that's getting passed, and it can kill tons of people after it. But they put a lot of money in reserve because they know. Just take a look every time they're running ads. Class action lawsuit, this drug, that drug, this drug. The actuaries put the money away, and they don't care. The fine is always a percentage of what they made. You ever see a drug company going out of business for their $2 or $3 billion fine? No. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. You don't want drugs. You want this so you don't get sick. Can't afford to get sick because you're in deep trouble. So the skin is parent omega-6. The intima is parent omega-6. All your sexual hormones are parent omega-6. The derivatives, they come from the omega-6. PGE1, your body's #1 anti-inflammatory. Today, everything is inflammation because of the adulterated food we get. And this article I started to talk about is talking about the cell can actually sense the structure of protein. And if there's a protein structure screw up, it gets inflamed. It tries to fix it. They just discovered that it does the same damn thing for fats that are in the wrong shape. It starts inflaming itself. So now you got a double whammy. You got a cell that's going nuts because it's sensing the wrong fat, and the fat itself doesn't work. That's the insulin resistance, that's resistance to all the hormones, not just that, and impeding oxygen. So you have a cell that's always on. You could read this paper, and it's sensing it. It's absolutely incredible. And here's a quote on the second page. Biological membranes may be a great game changer for the understanding of a great variety of diseases. We now have the conceptual framework to understand why secretory cells are hypersensitive to changes of their membrane lipids induced by the diet. This is one of the extremely rare times I've seen a medical publication talk about what you ate did it. And that's the whole thing with oxidized cholesterol while we're on the subject. It does not oxidize when it's in the body. The amount of antioxidants per cholesterol molecule is 1 per 160. That means one little antioxidant is shielding 160 LDL-C molecules. You go, well, that sounds pretty small. It's pretty damn small because it doesn't need to be. They don't go bad. You're eating the parent omega-6 that's gone bad in the food. When they look at oxidized cholesterol, they can't tell where the hell it came from. It's not the cholesterol structure itself. It's the rancid parent omega-6 that it's tied to, the esterified part, because they just grind it up. The second one talks about the horrible effects of sugar. It makes secondary aldehydes, which is a horrible thing. It screws up DNA. It's awful. And how the fats minimize the toxicity of it. So read this when you get home. Both these articles are among the top ones in the past 10 years, and neither one really understands the full ramifications of what they had. I'm positive of that, because I've heard of nobody picking this up at all. There's all kinds of medical things out there that do weekly mail-outs and newsletters that people around the world send me. I've seen nobody do anything with follow-up of either one of these. But they're among the two biggest findings in the past 10 years. And MDs won't see these. Healthcare professionals won't see them because they're not in the medical journal. They're in the physiology, biochemistry journal. So they'll never even see it. This is why it's one hand doesn't know what the hell the other's doing. And the guys that did both of these don't know the full ramifications. The one talking about the carbohydrate and the sugar that the fats negate the toxicity of, we're talking about ketosis and diabetics. Well, a diabetic never gets in ketosis because they're living on sugar. You go into ketosis when you're running on your own body fat. It's not even ketosis, you're just burning ketones. Okay, so when you burn your own body fat, there's one process. When you're eating carbohydrates for energy, it's another process. They're acting like the diabetic is burning their own body fat, which they're not. That's why they keep getting fatter. It's just the opposite. So, I mean, the whole thing was stupid, but we know just taking the oils, you don't even need to be in ketosis, because these oils, the parent omega-6 especially, minimizes the dickens out of diabetic neuropathy and retinopathy. So the eyes, you don't go blind, and the feet, you don't need an amputation. So when I saw this, it was like, my God, that completes the puzzle on why this works just taking it by itself. But you could read this. The next big one is omega-6 biomarkers and incident type 2 diabetes, pooled analysis, the one I told you with the 39,000 people. The more parent omega-6 in the bloodstream, the less the type 2 diabetes. So I already knew that, but this was just nice to see. The disgusting thing is nothing comes to these journal articles, nothing. It's like the garbage you see on TV, you know, with what they sold 20% of our uranium to Russia. What, 3 years ago, or how many years ago? Nothing came of it. You know, now they're talking about it again. You think anything's going to really come of it? Or Hillary violating every law there is, and nothing came of that. You know, the FBI, the hell with it. It's incredible. It's like nothing happens. There's no ramifications except, you know, it's amazing here. Well, what are you going to do? Nothing. Just like this, there won't be anything. It's just horrible. So the omega-6, back to the, you can sidetrack. PGE1, biggest anti-inflammatory you can have. So anybody that has arthritic conditions, minimizes it. Any kind of pain, minimizes it naturally. Also increases blood flow. It's a vasodilator. So it increases blood flow to the brain. Less dementia problems, less Alzheimer problems. You have 100 million capillaries in the brain. Are they made of? It's all parent omega-6. So if I have clogged capillaries in the brain, I have no nutrient transfer. If I have no nutrient transfer, I have no oxygen transfer. If I don't have either one of those, I can't think anymore. You think you're going to have much of a memory? No, you're just going to sit there. I mean, your automatic system will keep you breathing and everything. You don't need to think. You can be just kept on, you know, kept on life support. But it's as simple as that. In the cell membrane, the beta amyloid that comes out, they're always talking about this. If you're following Alzheimer's at all, I do. They get nowhere. They try drug after drug. They just waste millions and millions, and it's always another failure because they're looking at the same thing they keep failing on. It's like they just keep looking here, and the answer's over here. The cell membrane is splitting because the fats are screwed up, so the protein spills out. Now, once the cell membrane is screwed up and the protein spills out of the cell, do you just think getting rid of the protein over here is going to fix anything? No, that's what they keep trying to do, and that's what they keep failing. So I'd love to do a trial with that. We haven't done it. But I'll bet you it's at the core of Alzheimer's too. It has to be. It's certainly at the core of heart disease because 85% of the clogages are the parent omega-6 adulterated from our processed foods. The other one is PGI2. That's called prostacyclin. That makes it where the platelets can't stick together and they can't stick to an arterial wall. Well, if it can't stick to the wall and it can't stick together, how am I going to ever get a clot? And it also, it just keeps the artery very smooth. I can't get any buildup. So you look at PGE1 and PGI2 together from the omega-6 side, you should ever be getting a heart attack. It just shouldn't happen. And the people taking this don't. We get almost no cases ever, except something crazy. I mean, there's always an exception, don't get me wrong. But I look at the 99.9%. People that do my recommendations, 99.9, cancer, heart disease, they don't get it. There's no reason to be getting these diseases. They're created. Nature never had it. And pre-1920, nobody had the problem. There was virtually no type 1 diabetes. There was no type 2, zero. There was 5% cancer and 5% heart disease. When the guy that invented the EKG came over from Germany, he was told to go home. We don't have heart disease here. Heart disease started with the vegetable oil diet that was all adulterated. Crisco was patented in 1911, but it takes 30 years to get it out. And that's when you started seeing the problems start in 1940. You're going to start seeing people in their 30s having heart attacks. You already get young cancer cases with women all over the place. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So all this is preventable. You also need minerals. There's 8 minerals not in the soil. How do people get minerals? Typically from an animal that ate the plant. We can't use the minerals in the form of the plant because it's tied to cellulose. Remember when I told you cellulose wasn't a food? We have no enzyme to digest it. So if we eat just a plant like spinach, you're not getting the iron out of it. The old Popeye thing from the raw spinach was bullshit. Okay? It's a nice story. It doesn't work. So you need what's called truly chelated minerals, and they're covalently bonded to an amino acid. It's technical, but you have to make sure they're in the right form. The last thing everybody needs is a detoxifier. Why? Because we're highly pesticided, over estrogenized. All of the fertilizer, the hormones, high estrogen. So women are overdosed with estrogen. This is why they say, oh, your estrogen's turning against itself. No, it isn't. You're getting an overdose of estrogen from the food you eat. That's why you're dying of cancer. The guys, we're becoming effeminated. Our sperm counts are down 60% because of the crap they're putting on the food. So I try and go organic. Your money, biggest bang for the buck is anything in fat because that's where the residues are. So eggs, cheese, bacon, butter, cream. Spend the money and get organic. The meats, if you cook them well done, it denatures those estrogenic compounds by about 95, 96%. I sent it off to a lab once and it was huge. So I'm a big well done guy. And that's the main reason. I mean, you can't always be eating organic meat. It's expensive. The more you cook it, it doesn't have to be shoe leather, but I'm more towards the well done side versus rare. You negate most of the problem of the stuff they're feeding the animal. And that's where all the problem is. Red meat's horrible. How you deduce that? I mean, it's not. It's what they give the cow when it's eating, or, period. So those are the 3 things everybody needs. That's good for 99% of everybody. Are there other products people can take depending on specific conditions? Of course. I mean, coenzyme Q10 is good. You typically don't need it with the oils. They give you so much energy. There's all kinds of additional things if somebody has a specific problem. But I work in the 99%, 99.9%. We're doing a big study with expedited surgical healing. I can heal people 30 to 50% faster. I don't give a damn if you're diabetic, if you've been radiated, if you've been chemoized, doesn't matter. I can take the worst patient. We already did one trial in the University of Miami. The results were staggering. Was it a wound clinic? Can they use what I discovered even though the treatment was great? No. You know why? Because they lose 30% revenue when the patient gets out early. They couldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So it was, who the heck can use this? Who's the only specialty that wants less patient time? A surgeon. I get paid to do the procedure, and I don't want to see again if I don't have to. Of course, I have to see on some follow-ups, but the fewer follow-ups, that's better. Well, thank goodness somebody knew top guy at MD Anderson, the surgery department, and we're going to be doing a study with 200 patients real soon. It's a $1 million trial. It's a big deal. He saw the science, read both of my books, and flipped. To get he's the past immediate chair of 15 years, Department of Plastic Surgery. This is plastic reconstructive. It's not just plastic, it's major stuff. This is the top of the top. They're the biggest cancer center in the world, biggest plastic surgery department in the world, #1 for fellows in plastic surgery in the world, and they think enough of my science to be using this with a trial with 200 patients. It's pretty damn impressive. Pretty damn impressive. So it shows you how good the science is. So I have a lot of people that hate my guts. You know, you look at me on the internet, you know, quack this, wrong that. All of it's untrue, totally. But it doesn't matter. I mean, people come try and defame me all over the place. What I tell people is the science right? It's the only question you should ask. You're looking at the wrong thing. I don't care what the hell I am. Am I right with what I say? And the answer is yeah. And it's incredible. The 2 major fish oil papers, they retracted them because I have patents in plant-based oils, and I didn't specifically disclose that. That was the reason. It's because so many people with fish oil bitched because they make so much money they didn't want this out there. It's incredible. Nobody cares is the science right or not. Yeah, they retracted them. Masterpiece. One of them was adjudicated by a professor of biochemistry, specialized in lipid membrane oxidation. That's all he does. He said, this article is so important it has to be published. In the beginning, they didn't want to do it. They said it's too long. So I said a comprehensive review. I put in the word comprehensive. That means it has to be long. They ended up taking it. I mean, it took a lot to answer all of his questions. I mean, he had some very good ones. It took a month to answer them all, but I got them all. And in the beginning, they didn't want to publish the thing, and then this has to be published. Got retracted about a year down the road. It's unbelievable. It's one of the finest works I've ever done. I mean, I read it sometimes, and I can't believe how good. If you ever have any questions about fish oil, just look at my website. It may be on there, but it's unbelievable. So those are the 3 everybody needs. There's other things. When we do about 15 minutes of questions, I'm sure you have a lot. But anybody that answers, make sure they can give you a metabolic pathway. If they say something works, how's it work, sir? Why do I need this? You know, why didn't I need it 20 years ago? They're not going to be able to answer any of this. It's basically just take it because I told you to. I want the opposite of that. So there's 2 books, 24-Hour Diet, if you care about weight loss or what to eat, and PEO Solution if you care about disease prevention. I don't care what it is, any of them. It's just different perspectives. The information is a lot the same because it has to be consistent. It can't be opposite for here and there. It's completely consistent, but it's very different focuses. And you need to read those books. I just don't want you listening going, yeah, it sounds interesting, I'll try. I want you understanding why you may need one of these products or one of these supplements. I'm all about understanding, not taking stuff. Nobody else is. They just say, do this because I told you. I don't want you to do anything. I don't even care if you say, I hate this guy. But his science, you know, I'd rather have you say, I hate this guy, but his science is so damn good, in spite of hating him, I got to go by. But the books are really good, and they're entertaining too, because physicians are busy, and they need to read stuff. You know, they don't want to read anything more, so I have to make it entertaining. I don't know what it's probably out. I won't worry about it. Couple questions?
First, I want to give you a compliment. Your skin looks wonderful, and you look wonderful.
Well, if you touch it, I have the beard of a gorilla. If I don't shave for a day, it's like, if you come here and touch that, I mean, just see you're talking about, I just want you to feel this. Thanks. I mean, you're right, I get this. But feeling the, and then feel the fingernail. It's like glass. They're like glass, but no, you feel here. And there's nothing on it. That's the skin. I beat 20-year-old women because wherever I lecture, still let me feel your skin. I said, but I got to say, they look in horror because they're a kid, right? I'm at least equal to them. I may not beat them, But I go, your skin, because my wife's skin is 3 times softer than this. And she takes the oils now, she didn't used to. Maybe already breeds contempt, right? You can't know something nobody else knows. Okay. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But thanks. Yeah, and everybody can have,
I have a question too.
yeah.
And that is, how do you know how much of this we should take? I mean,
Yeah, the amount is on the right blend, 725 milligram capsule per every 40 pounds, or a teaspoon of the oil per 160 pounds. It's by weight for the oils because it gets integrated into the cell. So that goes by weight. You could ask them at the store, they'll be able to tell you what to take. Good question.
So you cook with that oil then?
No,
I mean, 'cause
no, you don't want to heat it up.
vegetable oil.
No, excellent question. What vegetable oil? Coconut oil has a very high smoke point, so I like organic extra virgin. There's a brand called Nutiva. Yeah, if you can tell them to shut that damn thing off. Nutiva is a good is a good place to get oil from on the internet. Nutiva. Coconut oil is excellent. Red palm oil is good, but it's red. It has a higher smoke point. They have a combination of coconut red palm oil. That's excellent. Ghee has a smoke point of 480, but it's expensive. GHEE, it's clarified butter, but it lasts a long time. You can refilter it. So I have a little deep fryer for French fries. I'll eat carbs, just not a lot of them. Or fried shrimp or fried fish. So I have it all ghee. Now it costs about $70 to have a little thing, but you can keep filtering it. It doesn't go bad because it's highly saturated or highly monounsaturated. Nutiva doesn't have ghee, but they have a coconut palm oil is a great combo. It's organic and it's really reasonable. And you can fry in it. You can do an egg in it. Ghee is great for eggs. I mean, Whole Foods has ghee, organic. You just put like a tablespoon of it in there. Has a very high smoke point, 480 degrees. So you can get real high temperature and it doesn't break down, doesn't do anything, and it's a buttery taste.
So would butter be better to?
Butter you can saute in. You can't get too high with butter. It turns brown and it smokes, and you can barely fry an egg in it, but you can't do much more. You could saute fish or something, but it's not for deep frying at all. Ghee is clarified butter or that oil blend from, I think it's Nutiva, Nutiva. You could search on, if you put that in on the internet, it'll come up with the right spelling. And it's reasonable. You can even get a couple gallon pail of it. They have specials like 50% off. That's really cheap. Good question. Olive oil's not bad. You can do a combination of half butter, half olive oil, and that's pretty damn good for frying an egg or sauteing fish. That's a very nice combo. Regular butter and half olive oil. Like, again, organic or at least extra virgin olive oil. You don't want the chemicals. They all lie on stuff, unless, be careful. Good questions. Time to go. Question?
Yeah, we have a Facebook question about shingles vaccine and vaccine.
I think all the vaccines are horrible. There's been shows on vaccines. One just went around the world. I know we've had people that have had shingles and then we've given the oils to, and it goes away very fast. But if you take the oils in advance, you typically don't get shingles. Your immune system goes through the roof. You almost don't get anything. But I'm not big on vaccines, and you could read about that from specialists in it. A lot of people aren't. Good question.
May I make a comment? Before I started on Omega 369,
So the oil blend, okay?
my fingers would crack and bleed
Fingers would crack and bleed.
and hurt like crazy. I had to actually use super glue
Wow.
in order to make them heal. I started Omega 369 and I have no problem. And
It's amazing what this does.
my sister had somebody in her office.
Yeah.
And she had the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
She told me on the phone today on my way here.
Hers is gone too.
Hers is gone too. She looked
The
it
skin
up
is
on
all
internet.
parent omega
Yeah,
6.
she looked up Healthy for Life on internet.
Good.
And ordered it.
It's all parent omega 6. I mean, the science is very simple here. And what kills me is you'll see somebody write, fish oil is good for the skin. How? There's none in it. This is, again, the metabolic pathway. How? Is it a puppet master controlling something? Because it's not in the darn tissue. How can it be good? It's like, how can saturated fat be causing a clogged artery when there's none in there? 2 more?
So, you can eat all the eggs you want? Would you
Yep,
say?
all the eggs you want, yep. Now, again, it has fat in it, so I would go
Well,
organic or natural or,
there's
be
a
careful.
This gentleman on, that show at starts at midnight here,
Will,
Coast to Coast.
will farmed eggs be,
What's his
just
name?
be
He talks
careful.
about nutrition and he sells them.
Okay.
And he
I don't
said he
know.
eats like 12 eggs a day or something.
The cholesterol in the egg is irrelevant. I already told you, it's absolutely irrelevant. It's nonsense.
You know, I make
There's no issue with eggs whatsoever. I eat a ton of them myself.
They're healthy for, but I make I distill my own drinking water. And
Okay.
I add some minerals to
Okay.
it. And there's a substance called, hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah.
Food grade, I add it sometimes to my drinking water. Is that, what's your, it's supposed to help?
It'll kill everything in the water. It's not going to do much as far as, it doesn't get into the bloodstream.
You
So
got
there's,
the wrong,
well, food grade's the best.
I just put a few drops in there.
Yeah, it's going to kill everything in the water. But as far as helping the bloodstream, it's not going to do much.
Add it, do anything with oxygen?
No, yeah, this is more BS that it oxygenates. No, won't do anything. The whole key to oxygen is the oils that get into the cell membrane, period.
Oh.
There's no way around it. These oils that make the cell membrane is the answer, period. Everything else is wishful thinking.
What do you take every day and why?
I start out with the oils, minerals, and detoxifier, just like everybody else does. That's all I take as far as supplements. I typically go about double because I work like hell, and it's typically mental. So if anybody has any huge either physical or mental stress, like Dr. Rob, the plastic surgeon, said he's 10 to 15% faster in his surgery with the oils. He's saying its concentration is up. I think its eye-hand coordination increases like heck too. You notice significant improvement. Significant. And he goes, Brian, we're fast anyway. This is fast and safe. Don't think there's no safety here. But a plastic surgeon has to be going fast. I mean, they have surgical teams. They can't screw around. And the more you're under, it's not good either. So they need to go fast. But 10 to 15% on a world-class surgeon, that is impressive as hell. So I do that. I'm going to get something to eat after this, but it's going to be almost no carbs. Maybe you could eat a steak at night. You could have shrimp cocktail at night. I wouldn't do any bread. I wouldn't, maybe a quarter of a potato. I'm going to have none. And there will be no issue whatsoever. Is it smarter to have nothing? Of course, but you can do stupid stuff. And I'm like everybody else, you're done with this, I'm getting some kind of reward. But I have no desire for the sundae. I have no desire for the pizza. I have no desire for the cake. And I used to be a carnivore like everybody else. I used to live on junk just like everybody else. Here's my big reward. And after a few years, your taste for it goes down, and then you go, this isn't worth it. I can either look good or I can eat this junk. And this junk, I feel horrible after doing it. And after you do it 50 times, unless you're insane, which you can be, you're going to stop doing it. It's not the reward. I just don't get the kick out of it. He's the same way. He goes, Brian, I've lost 35 pounds in 9 months. I just don't crave the carbs. He goes, everybody in my family is either overweight or diabetic problems. He goes, I don't crave it anymore. I said, that's standard. The reason you crave carbs is, well, you crave food, is because you don't get these oils and your body can only do one thing. Make her hungry again, pray you're going to get some of these oils in the next batch of food. You don't, so it's eat, crave. That's the human billy goat syndrome. Then because everybody's doing this, your little nutritionist gets in there, oh, you should be eating 6 or 8 times a day, which is going to blow out your pancreas because your pancreas is made to produce insulin twice a day. Textbook of medical physiology, if anybody care to look. And who the hell has time to make eating a second job? What are you, a cow or a giraffe living on? I mean, you listen to this nonsense, you'll become diabetic eating 6, 8 times a day. Stupidest thing I ever heard. It's insane. But if you don't have these oils, trouble?
Well, I've noticed that in the past couple of months I've had some health problems.
Okay.
And I emailed you about them, and I doubled up on my oils.
Okay.
And I've noticed that in the past 2 months that I will eat a high-protein breakfast like around 10 o'clock. in the
Okay.
morning, and I'm not really hungry the rest of the day. 'Cause I might have a snack like
Yeah,
late
the psychological part cannot get fixed, but physiologically you will not be hungry. Like my wife can do it. She can be stuffed, have the oils, and still want a dessert. And I say, you can't be hungry. She'll admit, I'm not. I'm nuts. You know, I just want this junk. But there's a big difference between knowing and you have to have it. She'll admit, I don't have to have it. You know, but I like it just because. But, you know, she grew up as a kid. Every reward was a piece of pie or chips or the same garbage everybody else had. You know, it's learned behavior. But a lot of people, it's physiologic craving. That I can get rid of. I don't get into psychology too much. You know, I stay in physiology. But physiologic food craving, you can lose. Especially the diabetics with this protein powder fruit smoothie. The biggest problem with every diabetic is the night snacking, because the worst thing you can do is eat carbs and then go to bed. You're not doing any activity. Your blood sugars go up at night anyway. Then in the morning they go up because you're going to be getting out of bed. So it's the worst thing you can possibly do is eat carbs and go to bed. And that's what people do, especially the diabetics. And that's why diabetic physicians go nuts, because they don't get the control in the patient. The patient doesn't comply the way they say. It's the most frustrating job in the world. Diabetic endocrinologist is tough. Oh, I couldn't do it.
A quick list of organic foods to eat or to buy. Can you remember what those were?
Well, I told you the best ones are the fats. The ones with the fats are what you want to spend the money on organic, because all the residues that are estranogenic and pesticides and chemicals go in the fat of every animal, same as us. All the toxins are in our fat. And that's what you're eating. So that's where you want to spend money. So eggs, cheese, bacon, butter, milk, cream. That's where you spend the money first. And then the meats, go there if you have the money for it, but they can get damn expensive. Otherwise, the more well done, the better. It denatures those chemicals. Fruits and vegetables, I go organic there too with Whole Foods. They get pricey. I do it. You know, the thing with fruits and vegetables, a lot of it's water. Don't juice anything. That's another horrible thing. Juice is liquid sugar. Eat the whole apple, but you don't want 5 apples worth of juice. Whoever came up with this is an imbecile for juicing a fruit. I mean, why would you want to do that? You're teaching your stomach to be lazy as hell. You're going to lose muscle as you get older and atrophy. Now you've been double whammy. You taught your stomach to be lazy, and now you have less muscle. You don't want to be doing that. You're better off eating a whole chunk apple and swallowing the damn thing. Let your stomach work. I mean, we have teeth for a reason. This whole juicing thing is beyond stupid. Eat the vegetable. I don't juice anything. I grind up the smoothie because it makes it like a milkshake, but that's fruit. In cantaloupe, it's not like it's any, you know, celery I wouldn't grind up. I eat it.
Not bananas?
Don't touch bananas, don't touch pineapples, don't touch cherries. Those are horrible for raising the heck out of blood sugar. Those won't help you. But anything else is fair game. I mean, strawberries, blueberries, cantaloupe, honeydew, even watermelon, grapes you can do. You will get no more than half the blood glucose rise than if it was a hunk of cake. So I talk about in the book, well, where the hell is this glucose going? Because it's in there. I went nuts trying to figure this out. Nuts for, some of it I just couldn't. There was no rhyme or reason. But I talk about it in the book. But you get a big, big bang for the buck. And you can be stuffed going to bed. You wake up in the morning because it's a water diet. You'll lose weight. And the water comes in a different way than drinking it to negate a carb, like, you know, I ate a hunk of cake. I need 5 quarts of water now to negate it. It's horrible. The smoothie doesn't do that. You can do it and go right to bed, because I've done it for months. And, you know, to test it, and everybody else has too. It's phenomenal. The biggest thing for a diabetic, and of course, the biggest secret in the world. 1 or 2 more?
Yeah. This colloidal silver. You heard of that?
Colloidal silver, is it good? Yeah. It's good for killing stuff.
Okay, well,
Yep.
I use it already, and I spray it in my nose, and it
Yep, that's a winner. That used to be a standard treatment, but
No way I've heard.
it's not a drug. It's not going to hurt you. Yeah, that won't hurt you. So that's good. One more?
What about men's prostate problem?
Biggest thing I've seen for that is the liquid herbal. The oils too, but the liquid herbal and the oils, phenomenal results. That should go down in a month. Whether you just have to keep going to the bathroom all the time,
They always tell you, you get to 50, you need to buy this.
it's garbage. Well, it shouldn't happen. I mean, if you take the oils and the herbal, you're never going to have a problem. If you have a problem, that'll still fix it. For most people, I mean, we've had phenomenal number of people. You know, PSA levels even go way down. PSA, by the way, isn't prostate specific. It's called prostate specific antigen, but it's a systemic issue. You can have elevated PSA from an infection. But even if you have that, you shouldn't be having the infection. So you shouldn't have a chronic infection. So phenomenal results in that area with the liquid herbal and the oils. Good question.
You have a word for people that are on cancer. I'm in choir. 3 of our small choir have cancer, and another one.
What to do?
has cancer. Yeah, is there any encouragement for those that are on chemo and radiation?
Sure, sure. The oils, the minerals, and the liquid herbal especially, 2 to 3 times the dosage for at least 90 days, and very little carbohydrate consumption. Because cancers run on carbohydrates. Most people, you know, they don't tell you this. So you really extra want to watch the fruit, you know, make damn sure there's no bananas or pineapple in there. Absolutely, a lot can be done for them. We've had stage 4 reversals all over the place. Even pancreatic cancer, all kind. You can, yes, a lot can be done, but they're lacking so many places. But without the oils, it's coming back. It's always coming back. If it doesn't come back, somebody figured out where to get these oils, the parent omega-6 from. Because if you don't have that oxygen transfer, it's coming back. And if it comes back a second time, you're pretty much a goner. Odds you get a third chance are pretty low.
So is Parkinson's?
I'm not sure about Parkinson's. It should help to some extent. I don't know what causes Parkinson's. It's neurologic. But the oil should absolutely help in the brain. And the liquid herbal too. Again, 2 to 3 times the normal dose for at least a month, and see what happens. See what happens. Good questions. Please check out those 2 books. You know, whatever your focus is, you gotta know this for yourself. And you gotta understand the science for yourself. And you all went out of your way to come here, so invest 8 hours in yourself reading one of these. I don't care if you read it while you're going to the bathroom, as long as you read it over 4 months. I don't care how the hell you read it, as long as it gets read. But you need the science, and you need to see where it comes from, because it's not open to discussion. Everything I'm saying today isn't me, isn't made up. It comes from the medical. I'm not big on studies. Studies should only reinforce the science. You should already know the result of the study. Whenever I do a study, I know the results. I know what I'm going to get. It's just you got to do it to prove it. It's like Einstein with his relativity thing. When he got the results back, you doubted me. I knew I was going to, but you got to do it. You know, you got to have the real life thing, especially in medicine where it's human life. You absolutely have to. But I always know where I'm going. I may not know exactly how good it's going to be, but I know I'm going to heal 30 to 50% faster in surgery because I've already seen it. So I know the results are going to what they're going to be. So it's just like like a rocket ship ready to blast off. But it's going through its last review thing at the hospital. It's called an IRB, Internal Review Board, and already passed one. Now it has to go to the other. It will. Well, I thank you for coming. Hopefully I'll see you another 7 months, but do some reading.